But you guys should have a chapter.
Yes, actually, we were going to talk about that.
Oh, really?
We were going to...
Most of these questions, I'm actually not asking for the audience. We're kind of asking for ourselves in a way, because honestly, I think this is a really cool thing. I do feel like within my capacity, I can manage it. And especially the biggest reason is Greece has a tremendous amount of tourists. Like, I think every year we have 40 million tourists.
Yeah.
It's always more than the actual population, every year.
I think we can really make use of that. But talking about how do you gain their trust in the beginning? My mom used to say that you should never carry anything for any of your friends abroad or back to Vietnam, because you don't know if that thing is, banned from the other country. Like, I know it's a friendly thing, but I wasn't even taught to not to do that. So how do you gain the trust of, the tourists in the beginning?
I would say from what I've seen, first of all, those who take these suitcases, from what I've seen when I was a volunteer, I got to meet some people, talk to them in the packs, and people who were volunteering to help, but they also every year take a suitcase with them when they go on vacations. They were nurses, there were doctors, there were people in other healthcare sectors. They were very aware. They're aware of the regulations of that country, right? Because every country has their rules set. You can go read about it. You have to do research. It does take some time and energy from you, but you have to understand time is money. So instead of you spending the money, you're putting in the time, I would say, to just know where you're going. And one more thing I would say is that the countries who really need these supplies are the ones with the least amount of restrictions when it comes to taking the supplies to them.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
That would make
right?
sense. Yeah.
Because they know they need it, so why would they?
They ban it.
Yeah.
Talking about previously with the hospitals and clinics, there's a form on your website for the clinics in need to request for supplies, right? I'm curious about what happens after they submit the form.
That form does not go through us. I personally do not have access to the answers to those forms.
Even though you are the co-founder of one chapter.
The website is for not just tourists,
in general.
Organization. Right.
Okay.
If you want to, however, volunteer with us and you go to you choose your chapter and you submit a form through your chapter, which is I want to volunteer with this chapter, and you go through that, I get the response.
Okay.
You can't
so it doesn't actually go to you.
I think what ends up happening with clinics who request the supply, we wait to see if there are any travelers that are going there. And then sometimes travelers don't know where to take it, right? Don't know where which clinic needs this stuff, right? So we have a list of suggestions. That's how it works. I don't know specifically what they ask and how they process it, but this is as much as I know, right?
As I was reading the 2017 and 2018 report, there was a story of Miss Mary Chen. She's a Vietnamese, who brought the supplies to a hospital in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Because I'm Vietnamese, I know for a fact that, we are poor. But we're not that poor. And I also feel that we do have the resource to afford all these things, all these kind of supplies. That brings me to a question. If there's a traveler, let's say he signs up for Athens, but there's no current need for medical supplies there, then what would you do in this case?
My personal view is that I'm from Iran, right? When you look through my country, you will be like, okay, they don't seem like they need it, right? In the capital, right? Especially if we're talking about the capitals of the country, you will be like, no, we're good, right? We have the hospitals, we have people who are donating left and right. Why would we need that? There's always clinics in the rural areas, in the different smaller cities right? That they don't get the funding needed. Any help is help. You can't be like gonna discriminate against the help. So if you're taking it, we want to make sure you're taking it to somewhere that really needs it, of course. But if you're going to Vietnam, it's best believed that you find somewhere that they also need it specifically in that country, and you donate it there. If you can, still donations, it's a nice gesture. Because you gotta understand, these supplies, if they had stayed with us, or if they had stayed in the hands of the owner, they will go to waste. So if you can take it anywhere, whether like really needed or very little needed,
it's still better than staying there.
Yeah.
I have a question. What's the country where most supplies go to, at least right now?
The most I hear about is Cuba.
Cuba.
Because Cuba is near Canada, I would say.
Yeah.
They really do not have a good healthcare. They don't have a good living. They make most of their income out of tourists, like Greece and other countries as well. But they have a lot of sanctions, which doesn't let a lot of equipment go in and out. So, and a lot of Canadians already travel. So I know, from what I've heard, a lot of it goes to Cuba. It very much depends on where our travelers are going, right? Because I believe that in every country there is somewhere that needs the medical supply.
I would have assumed it was a country that, let's say, is in war right now. For example, Gaza. What's going on there? But I'm guessing that there are other volunteer organizations that are sending supplies as well. So I guess that balances it out.
Yeah, but the model based on the travelers. Because
but
it's in the war, so no one's traveling there. So I don't think.
Yeah, that
Okay.
needs like people
Then my
who
bad.
war help and things like that. But last year, when the earthquake happened, in one of the biggest earthquakes happened in Turkey.
Yes.
I don't know if you recall it. And for that, one of so not just tourists, with some of the staff of one of the Toronto hospitals decided to have basically a packing party, I guess, hosted in their hospital. They packed, at that point it wasn't one suitcase, it was like two like containers, like big containers of like medical supplies to be donated. Well, we have a picture of the pack actually on our Instagram as well, which our U of T students went and helped out with it. And it was covered by the news. With being covered by the news, it helps a lot because we get more calls, because you never know who needs us, right? But if they just know about us in the back of their mind, when they come across a situation, they can be like, hi, like I have these like donations, would you take it? Or I want to travel, can I take a suitcase? And then we will basically put them with the right people to communicate that through. But if they don't know about us, what can they do?
Okay.
Generally, I'm quite impressed by the model. And honestly, I do think it is something that we can start in our university as well, in Thessaloniki. But reading about your chapter and everything, you guys went through quite a lot of rejection. And how do you guys bounce back from something like that? And what did you learn from that?
I think it's about learning how to build trust, right? And that's the very important value, because this whole organization, from people who are taking a suitcase to people who are packing it, to people like the volunteers, right? To people who are donating something, right? It all comes together based on trust, because there's nothing else holding us together, right? It's the passion to help and the trust, right? We trust that person who's taking the suitcase to take it to the place that they indicated going, right? We trust the people who are helping pack the suitcase or pack the equipment, that They're gonna be careful about what they're packing and all of those things. We trust the person who, or the person who's donating, right, is trusting us, right, that we will make sure this is handled properly. We're not gonna just look at it not carefully and just throw it in the garbage, right? So it all comes together through trust. Not just tourists trusted me and gave me a chapter, right? They trusted that I will do my best, right, to get the word out there about not just tourists, or help as much as I can, right, with getting people involved. And then it comes up with a lot of sacrifices. Like, for instance, sometimes we have calls where people are like, I want to donate this, but I'm very far from your chapter. But you are at the same time the closest chapter to me. So I personally go pick it up, right? Yeah, so things like that, right? We arrange a time. It takes personal sacrifices. We had to get the word around the U of T. We had a table at one of the buildings of U of T where we just wanted to get more people to know about us, more people to sign up, possibly take a suitcase. And it was my club's like volunteers. It was so nice of them. One of them like baked at home, and brought cookies and stuff. And I know I always I complain, oh, we're not getting the financial help. It will be so much easier to wear. But you gotta understand that it brings so much kindness out of people to do it, knowing that they're not getting much even in return, right? They're like, we're giving cookies out and things without any expectation. You can come and grab a cookie and just look past us and just go. Basically just grab your cookie and go. But for my volunteers to still be like, I want to do this. I want to go have a table. I'm going to talk to the buildings, like, I don't know, manager to have a table, right? Because all of these need permission. You have to get permission from faculty to have a table. You have to book a table, right? You have to, and all of this, if you're willing to do it, I think that shows a lot. And I think that's what we're looking for.
Okay, you
I have one last personal question. Because you're a co-founder, right?
Yes.
And if I want to start, I want to know how many hours per week doing all the work.
Honestly, I would say the best quality for anyone co-founding, founding, making even a business, if it's not even a thing. I think the best quality in each person is building a team.
You have to build a team eventually. Yeah.
If you are a good founder, you will prioritize building a good team. Because I'm not the type who would say, oh, you can't join, right? In fact, I invite everyone. If we have a position, I'm not going to, if somebody wants it, I'm not going to say no, right? You are not qualified. I never say that. I'm very involved in terms of talking to each individual in the club as well. Once I don't see you put in the work, that's when I come in and say, like, here, I need you to do this, this, this. If you can't, just tell me, right? Because some people can. Some people just realize it after taking on all the work that this is too much. I can't handle school and this. And, I have a life outside. And I get that. I'm not going to be mad at you, for doing that. But I want that communication to be there for you to tell me, right now, you know what? Before I thought I could, I can't anymore. I have other stuff on my plate. As long as you tell me, it's all about building that team, right? And I think that's what I have with the people who are staying year after year. I have people who also leave. Those who stay, they're committed. Some people would say, no, they just want it on their resume. Even if you say that,
I can imagine that a lot.
The work that they're putting in, right? It shows that it's more than just being on the resume. It takes more. You can just be a club member and put it on your resume without doing anything. You can just say not a lot of people are gonna go check if you're actually part of the club. or not, if you're actually doing
that's
work
true.
or not. A lot of people can just be involved like that. But I have an executive team that I'm honestly so thankful for, because I don't have to they do it because they like it. I put the roles out every year on the board. We have a meeting and I say, who wants to sign up for what? Go write your name in front of it.
Okay.
And I just have a conversation with them about, these are your roles, responsibilities. Can you do it? And the other thing that's very important to me is that sometimes you're not only needed for your own role and responsibilities, because I like the free flow in some ways, because it's all about helping. You're not responsible to go do some baking at your house and bring it to the table, right? But if you're willing to do that, that shows that you're
That's
really
nice.
committed, right? If you're willing to even go out of your own pocket and just buy a box of donuts, buy some cookies, right? And just bring it. You're putting your time, you're putting your money for that. But it's because you want to do that.
That shows a lot.
I think that's the value in my team.
Okay, so if for example I can build a team to do things for around, then it shouldn't cost me that much time, right?
Yeah, because you have to consider yourself as part of that team, right? You can only also handle so much, right? You at some point you will need to tell people what to do, right? And they just carry on doing that without coming constantly to you, or you constantly having to tell them what to do, right? Because my team doing that allows me to focus on other things, allows me to, get on these podcasts and spread the news in other ways, right? But if I'm constantly with my team trying to, you do this, and then I'm constantly, okay, now I have to tell this person to do this, that I won't have the time, because I have also a life. I do other stuff too, other than the club, other than, studying. So it's all about helping each other, and I think it's the team that matters the most.
That's a very good answer, and I think we can wrap up this episode with that. I believe your goal is to inspire people to volunteer and try to get more people to deliver the suitcases. But would you have any other words for individuals who are inspired by you guys and would like to start their own chapters? Because in Europe, we have many unused medical supplies, so it is a big potential.
I say, if you have the opportunity, if you have the supply, the whatever it takes, and if you really think you have it, if you're even doubtful a little bit, at least take that one step. Contact Not Just Tourists, see how you can get involved. I'm sure there's always one way or another. Either one day you're gonna travel, I don't know. So you might not get a chapter, but that doesn't mean you cannot be involved. And this can also spark ideas for other people. If you can't get involved with Not Just Tourists, I'm sure there's other organizations who have very similar values. And that as long as that spark goes off in people and they are like, this is cool, I want to do
really
this
cool
too, right?
It is.
So I think as long as that spark is there, you just have to do something about it. I say don't be scared. It was very hard for me because I don't know, I didn't know what's the process of even having a chapter at U of T. It's one thing to get the chapter from Not Just Tourists, is another to apply for a chapter at U of T. You have to explain what's your chapter, why you want to have the chapter. You have to go through a process to also have it at U of T. But you learn. And, it encouraged me to do a lot more. It encouraged me to, come across your podcast. It encouraged me to come across the other podcasts. It's the same thing. You have to put yourself out there.